Hey everybody, welcome to the CharlieB Podcast. I'm your host, CharlieB. Do you ever feel like you have so much going on and you just need to breathe? Being a wife and mother can be so overwhelming, and sometimes you just need a minute. Take that minute with me, CharlieB. In this space, we'll talk about marriage, motherhood, and just being a woman. How do we manage to keep it together in the midst of everything that's going on? We're women, and that's just what we do. So listen, this is that pull up to the house and sit in your car for a minute moment. We all need those. You didn't have to, but I'm so glad you decided to spend that moment with me on the CharlieB Podcast. Let's jump right in. Hey everybody, it's CharlieB, and I'm so glad that you took out the time to join me. Today is an extra special day because you're just going to be hearing from me, myself, and I. I haven't done this in quite some time, and it actually feels pretty strange that I don't have someone sitting across from me talking to them. I actually had a very special lady lined up, but she ended up getting sick and had to cancel. And then I had a second person to take her place, but she ended up getting sick. So my prayers are with you both. I won't mention your names. It's not necessary to, but my prayers are with you. And I hope you have a speedy recovery, praying that the Lord touch and heal your bodies very, very quickly. And thank you for even having a desire to join me. But I'm going to go ahead and just speak to you from my heart tonight. It is very awkward talking to myself, but I'm going to go ahead and get used to it. It's back to school time, and I just thought it was a very special time to give a shout out to all the teachers out there, all the educators out there that spend their days with our babies, and just want to recognize and let you all know, want to recognize you and let you all know that we see you, we thank you, and we appreciate you. Whether you're the teacher's aide or you're the teacher's assistant, whatever they call you these days, whether you're the teacher yourself, the principal, the administrators, the secretaries, everyone that works in the school that has to communicate with our kids on a day-to-day basis. We want to say thank you to all of you. It cannot be an easy job. I don't envy you one bit. There are a lot of people out there that are in these positions that don't want to be. I would highly recommend that you go ahead and find yourself another job, because teaching should be something that you love to do. It has to come from the heart. It's got to just come from the heart. Teaching is like parenting. I'm leaving you in the hands. I'm leaving my child in your hands for the day. Leaving you responsible for my most precious gift that the Lord has given. And the way you entreat that child is going to impact them for the rest of their lives. I remember growing up, I remember my first teacher. I went to Head Start. Esther and I went to Head Start in Burlington, and I had a teacher or instructor, whatever he was, that was mean as a snake. Good Lord, the man was so mean and so evil. Even as a grown woman at 51, I was 3 and 4 years old, and I remember the fear that he placed in our poor little souls. And it was because he didn't want to be there. As I look back, I remember I used to suck my thumb. I was goodness gracious. I was an avid thumb sucker. And anytime he would catch me with my thumb in my mouth, he would make me stand in the middle of the floor with 1 foot up. I would have to stand on 1 foot and I was 3. Okay. And if my mama and daddy didn't have a problem with me sucking my thumb, I'm not sure why he did. He made my life very miserable as a 3-year-old, but the blessed part for me was that I went home to 2 loving parents and my siblings, and we all found comfort in one another. I remember we used to, you know what? This couldn't have been the Head Start in Burlington where my mom worked, because we took a bus. I remember being on a bus, and this story doesn't have a point, I promise, but I remember being on a bus and having to cross over a bridge. And the bus driver, who was also one of the aides at this daycare, wherever this daycare was, I got to ask my mom where this daycare center was. They stopped the bus one day on the bridge. And this, if you know me personally, there are many things that you may not know about me, and maybe along the way you'll learn them. But one thing about me is that I have been terrified of bridges, to drive over bridges, to drive or to ride over bridges. I don't care how big, how small. I had a horrible fear of bridges. And it took me, I wasn't sure why, until one day I had a conversation with my dad years ago. I had a conversation with my dad, and I was telling him, just randomly telling him how I remember the man that used to be at the daycare and how mean he was, and how one day we were driving over the bridge in the bus, and Esther and I, there was Esther and me and maybe 2 other kids left on the bus, and they stopped on the bridge, opened the door to the bus, and acted like they were going to throw Esther off. And I lost it. I absolutely lost my mind. I was screaming and crying, and they made me say that I wouldn't tell my parents, and we never did. I didn't tell my parents, as a matter of fact, until I was probably 28. And my dad was so upset when I told him that story. And in that moment, I realized, oh my goodness, that's why I'm afraid to go over bridges. Because the trauma that I faced that day, Esther doesn't remember that story, that incident, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember the woman. I remember her name. I won't say her name because she has children and grandchildren. And I don't want to scar her family. And these are the people in my life that I had to forgive, because every time I would think about the situation, every time, I would get bitter and angry and just try to figure out why adults would treat babies harshly. And, thank God for salvation, who teaches, and salvation in the Holy Ghost, who teaches this is just what the devil does. It is just how the devil is, and it's just what he does. And if he can destroy you at the tender age of 3, hey, listen, he's good. He's got it. If he can keep that root of bitterness in you up until you're an adult, when you have your own kids, and then maybe even it filters down to your children, like generational curses and generational anger and generational poverty, all these things can trickle down to our children. And it all starts out by meeting a teacher that is either a bully or doesn't want to be a teacher, or maybe was bullied himself when he was a young person. That incident taught me a lot. After I left the daycare, I don't know how Esther and I ended up in the same daycare at the same time in the same class, but we did. Maybe that's how they did it back then. But the interesting thing was, I always felt like I was Esther's protector. Now, as I grew up, if somebody came for Esther, it was always you were going to get hurt before you hurt her. I felt like it was my job to protect her. And Tracy as well. I don't know how I became, the protector of Tracy because she's a year older than me. But Tracy always had this really, really extra sensitive and extra, what's the word I'm looking for? Tracy was extra delicate. And I took the role as the protector. I was a fierce one, and I was willing to harm anybody that got in the way or tried to harm my sisters. So when we ended up going to Bootnot school, Bootno, there's a whole Burlington thing going on. How do you pronounce the word Bootnot or Bootno? It's either one. Somebody actually called me one day and said, how do you pronounce the word Bootnot school or Bootno school? And I was like, I've said it both ways all my life. But when I went to Bootno school, Esther didn't come with me. And I felt like I was incomplete because now Esther's not there. But that's where I started kindergarten there. And I remember my teacher was Mrs. Cathcart. Mrs. Cathcart reminded me of a grandmother. I had Mrs. Keegan, Mrs. Sherlock. These are all the teachers that were in my life that actually made me enjoy coming to school. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to learn. And the interesting thing about me is that I was not a fast learner. Back in the day, we had what was called basic skills. And most of my life, I was in basic skills. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I am not ashamed. I used to be ashamed that I was in basic skills. But you know what? I thank God for it today. Once you recognize that you learn different, I loved how Debbie Williams said it in her segment a couple weeks ago. Everybody doesn't learn the same. It doesn't mean that you're stupid or slow or anything like that. It means that you don't learn the same as student A. You're student B, student C learns like student C, and student D learns like student D, and down the alphabet. We all learn different. And when you have teachers or educators that are mature enough, smart enough, educated enough, and loving enough to make that child understand that it's just that you learn different, God be with you. Thank you so much. I could get emotional in the next few minutes, and that's okay too. Because it's so important that educators love what they do. It's so important that the educator understands that if you only come to work for a paycheck, you might as well go work at, I don't want to name a place because I don't want to belittle somebody. I was going to say McDonald's. I don't like McDonald's, so I'm going to say McDonald's. Sorry, McDonald's. I just don't like McDonald's. But so I'm going to say McDonald's. You might as well go work at McDonald's, which I did used to work at when I was in high school. I worked at McDonald's for a few years, as a matter of fact. Don't be a teacher. Go and quit your job and find something else to do if teaching is not what you love to do. If we can just come to a place where we understand that it is your responsibility to make or help the student recognize who they are and how they learn, I think that teaching would be better. I think education would be better. I think the students would be better. I think the parents would be better. But so much goes into teaching. So much goes into once that child opens the door, opens the double doors and walks into the school. And I can remember being in kindergarten, and I can remember being in first and second grade, third and fourth grade. I remember my teacher, Mr. Butler. He was one of my favorite teachers. He was a tall man, and he made me enjoy coming to school. He really did. And even though I was scarred as a child in my first experience in school, as I got older, I had better experiences with teachers. And I would just like to encourage teachers to be the teacher that you wanted when you were in school. Be the teacher that you want your grandchildren to have. Be the teacher that you want your children to have. You know, it will make a great big difference. All students are not created equally. I learned so much from the educators that I spoke to that you never know what that child is going through at home. You don't know what kind of night they had. You don't know if they've been abused. You don't know if they're hungry. You don't know if their clothes are clean. You just don't know. And everybody that's wearing a smile is not happy on the inside. It's just very important for the educators to understand that every child is created different. We're all different. And God puts you in this place, in this position for a reason. And kids remember. Kids become adults. Be that teacher that the adult can tell their children about. Like I tell my kids about Beverly Hutton, my teacher that changed my life. I tell my kids about Miss Gaither, the teacher that took no tea for the fever. I tell my kids about Miss Olivia Baxter. That's funny. I don't know Miss Gaither's first name. I very rarely knew my teacher's first names. But Mr. Gus Jones, who we did not play with Mr. Jones. He was a dynamic teacher. Mr. Jones was one of the best teachers Burlington City had. And even Dr. Rochester, I don't know her first name, but all I know is her name went from Mrs. Rochester to Dr. Rochester. And she was our principal, and she didn't play. But she made sure we were okay. She loved us. She disciplined us. She took care of us. We felt safe. Our parents knew that we were okay. And she required nothing but the best from her students. And it's just a blessing that I can reflect on all these teachers that were in my life. And there's so many more. Mrs. Kithcart. Her son worked for WIMG or one of those gospel stations. She would always brag about her son. Mrs. Bennett. Oh my gosh, so many teachers that changed my life from grade school to high school. And I didn't let what happened to me when I was in daycare. I guess it was daycare. I don't know. I didn't let that alter my life, although I carried it and it still hurts, but I had to come to a place where I let that go and forgive. Be the teacher, be the educator that you want your babies to get. Like, oh man, I hope my daughter gets Mrs. Holmes because Mrs. Holmes was so good to Clarence. Oh man, I hope my son gets Stacy Wilson. I hope that, those are the things that we need to make our goals as educator. The school year has begun. It's now the end of September. and the kids have a long way to go. You know, I was thinking about, who was at my house? I think it was my baby Essence. Essence Moore, my new baby, my new sweetheart. I have so many nieces, and Essence is just my new sweetheart. She recently gave her life to the Lord, and she's a member of our church, and she's just the sweetest little thing. And I love her babies. Her babies call me Aunt Charlene. And we were out on the patio talking last Sunday, because they come over my house just about every Sunday. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, little mama is 10 years old. She told me that she has to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get ready for school. 6 o'clock in the morning. I thought about that and was like, that's early for a baby to get up for school. So I have to be to work at 8 o'clock, and I get up at 6. I get up at 6 because I move slow and I like to take my time, and I got a whole process that I go through to get ready. But 6 o'clock is early for a child to rise, to get their day started, to think. They got to get breakfast. They got to get ready. And then if they're older ones and they have little siblings, they're probably helping mom and dad out. They've got to get lunch ready, and then they got to get out to school. And they go to school all day long. So if you think about it, they get up at 6, they get out of school probably at 2:30, 3 o'clock. They got to come home. They have to do homework. That's going to take a while. After that, it's about time for bed. They may be able to get dinner in. Lord, let's pray they get dinner in. Please make sure they get dinner in. They get dinner in, mom and dad. They may get a couple TV shows in, but then it's time to go back to bed and get up again at 6 o'clock in the morning. And some kids get up even earlier than that if they got to get to the bus stop. So I was just thinking, man, I don't think I had to get up that early when I was in school. I think I got up around 7:30 when I was in school. Then that's early for the babies to be getting up. So let's give them a break. Let's ask them how they're doing. Let's make sure they get down at night at a decent time. Let's make sure that we're not yelling at them on their way out the door. Hurry up, hurry up. Let's make sure we're getting up before them so that they can have that extra time. I know when I was raising my babies, I would get them baths at night. I would make sure they showered at night so that they would have extra time to sleep in the morning, because mornings can be rough. And as I said when I had my episode with my kids, I always tried my best not to yell or fuss at my kids in the morning. I never fussed at them in the morning because I didn't want them to have a bad day in school, because it sets the precedence for the rest of their day, So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just grateful for the educators out there that really love their jobs. I know Audrey's a very good child. Audrey's there are not too many kids like Audrey. She's just different. And I tell her all the time, I don't know why the Lord blessed me, but I'm just so grateful that he did bless me with this child. And she had an incident with a teacher that yelled at her in one of the schools she went to. It was not Benjamin Banneker and it was not Samuel Smith, but it was a school in Willingboro. And his teacher lost his mind one day and yelled at Audrey, and it didn't go over well for him. I'm sorry you don't like your job. We don't yell at Audrey because Audrey doesn't require yelling. She's one of those kids that you don't have to yell at her. You just don't. I think I've had to discipline Audrey maybe 5 or 6 times. And you go to school and she goes to school and gets yelled at harshly by a teacher. No, 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 no. Parents, get your kids back. Have their back. No, first of all, know your kids. Wait a minute. Know your kids. It's important that we know our kids. But we knew that Audrey didn't require yelling, sir. So what you're not going to do is take your frustrations out on my baby. Now, if the kids are wrong, then they're wrong. I've been yelled at by teachers before, and I deserved it, and I was corrected by my teachers, and I deserved it. But there was a time when a teacher in high school tried to bully me, and I am unbullyable. And I think it's because I was always short, and my cousin George Walton calls me. He calls me Napoleon sometimes. It's Napoleon syndrome. You call it whatever you want. I'm not about to be bullied. So this teacher in high school started yelling in my face. He tried to cut me in the line in the cafeteria, and then he started yelling in my face, and it didn't end well at all. And I called my dad, and my dad knew me. All right. So I was pulled to the principal's office, Cunningham. Everybody remembers Cunningham at Burlington City High School. And the teacher wanted me to be suspended. But I told Cunningham, I'm calling my dad because this is not what we're doing. So I called my dad and I told my dad what happened. And the teacher, what happened? Okay, so I called my dad, told my dad the incident that happened. That night I went home and I explained in detail how it happened. I was minding my business. I was innocent this time. Now, I got in many fights and got in trouble for that. But this time I was innocent. And the teacher wanted my father's phone number at work so they could talk. So Cunningham gave the teacher my dad's phone number at work. And I don't know what my dad said to that man. To this day, I'll probably ask him in heaven, Daddy, what did you say to that man? But all I know is the next day I was called to his class, and I guess he was on a teacher break because there were no students in the classroom. And he apologized to me, and he told me that he was wrong, and he asked me if I would accept his apology, and I said yes. And that was the end of that. I don't know what Daddy said, but all I know is that I didn't have any other problems out of that teacher at all. For the rest of my time at Burlington City High School, I did not have one problem out of that man. And I've seen this teacher go crazy on students, like up in their face and act like he had just lost his mind a few times. But that wasn't, this ain't that. And you got the wrong one today, kind of. So, yeah, teachers can be bullies. Teachers can be mean. Teachers come with all different personalities, just like students do. And I guess if I think about it, too. Oh, I remember Mrs. Tubman, too. She was a teacher that came, and I think she was a substitute for a while. And then she ended up being a permanent teacher. And I really loved Mrs. Tubman. She was awesome. Yeah. But teachers come with issues, too. You don't know if they're going through a divorce, if they have their own kids and dealing with getting their own kids out to school, and then they got to come deal with our hard-headed kids. There's a lot, so it's a lot to consider too. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all the teachers. Hey, listen, I've been talking to myself for 34 minutes now. When I was riding home from work, I was like, I have to do an episode. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to do. And I can't just sit there and talk to myself for an hour, but clearly I can, because it's 30 minutes in and I'm just sitting here talking because thoughts keep coming. But yeah, I just wanted to fill this time with thanksgiving and gratitude to all the teachers out there, to all the educators out there. You know, we appreciate you. Yeah, we appreciate you. We know it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. It couldn't be me, and I'm glad it's you. It couldn't be me, so I'm glad it is you. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I pray that you all have a fabulous year. I pray that the Lord will bless you to make the best choices, the most wise choices that you can. I pray that He keep you all safe. All the bus drivers out there. First of all, the bus drivers, y'all need to slow down, okay? Because y'all are important too. And I'm putting my baby on a bus. I'm expecting that you're going to drive like it's your grandbaby on the bus. I have seen some bus drivers that drive like drunken drunks. And that is not okay. Slow down. Drive responsible, okay? I love you. And I thank you for filling out the application to be a bus driver, but you need to drive safe and slow down. Okay, sorry. Had to get that out. Because bus drivers are important too. They're the ones taking the babies to school. We got to make sure they get there safe. Okay? And kids, when you're on the bus, sit down and behave yourselves. Okay, had to get that out. It's important too. CharlieB loves you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for everyone that tunes in week after week. Next month is going to be a very special month. Next month is October. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Oh my gosh, y'all are going to be so happy. So make sure you tune in every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have any ideas for topics, if you would like to be a guest on my show, please hit me up. I have an email address. It is the CharlieB Podcast at gmail.com. That is the CharlieB Podcast at gmail.com. Please be sure to download each episode every week. Share it with a friend. Also, go ahead and leave me a positive, thank you very much, a positive comment and a good rating. I would really appreciate your 5 stars. It does matter. I just appreciate the time that we spend together each week. And maybe since I learned that I can sit here and talk to myself for a while, maybe I'll do some me, myself, and I episodes and share some stories with you. I actually wrote a book years ago, and it's just sitting in my drawer. It's just sitting there unpublished. So maybe I'll share some stories with you as I go along the way. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Join me next time right here on the CharlieB Podcast. CharlieB out. Go Charlie. Go Charlie. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show. You can also like my page on Facebook at the CharlieB Podcast. Now, before you get out of the car and go to whatever is next, take a deep breath and remember, this is what you were created for. God gave you a different kind of strength, and whatever it is, you've got this. So again, thanks for tuning in. Really, you didn't have to, but I'm so glad that you did. Join me next time right here on the CharlieB Podcast.